Alexander Titov is in Belfast. He's a Russian affairs analyst and lecturer at Queen's University, Belfast. Great to have you here with us on TRT World. Certainly not the first time sanctions have been imposed on Russia by the West. Not the first time President Zelensky is asking for more weapons, more sanctions on Russia. But what is different this time around?
Well, the only difference is that it's now new administration, Trump administration, imposing sanctions on Russia. Before that, all the sanctions came from the EU. We've seen the 19th package, so they're having it every 6 months. So there'll be more packages to come. Biden imposed a lot of sanctions, very similar to what Trump just imposed on Russian oil companies. But this is the big departure, is that Trump is imposing new sanctions as a way of pressuring Russia. I would suggest that same way the previous pressure didn't work. Neither will this, but nevertheless, this is kind of a new phase in Putin-Trump relations, I suppose.
Like you pointed out, Alexander, sanctions do not work. I think we have many examples of that to prove that sanctions have not really played a crucial role in bringing about an end to a war or a conflict, at least in recent memory. So what do you think was the primary motive of Donald Trump behind imposing these sanctions? What is that one thing that he's trying to get out of these sanctions right now?
Well, I think he was under a lot of pressure from both within the United States and from Europeans and from Zelensky to do something about Putin. Equally, he's has this kind of belief in the omnipotence of Americans' power, which is, he says, as economic power primarily, as well as political and military. So it's something to do something. Whether it will achieve an end, I mean, they're having a fact that it becomes more costly for Russia and so forth, but they don't have effect in terms of changing the ultimate, determination to see this war through on the Russia's terms by Putin. So their sanctions is not changing that. So this will remain the same. But at least Trump is doing something to pressure Russia now to ally his critics, I suppose.
Okay, again, this I think I don't know if you have an answer to this question, but I will ask it anyway, because I think a lot of people are wondering right now what would possibly bring about an end to this war in Ukraine right now. In the past, of course, many have discussed the possibility of providing better weapons to Ukraine. There are times where Ukraine was provided with those weapons, and at the time everyone was saying, okay, if these weapons are provided to Ukraine, the dynamics are going to change and then the battlefield is going to shift, but that did not happen as well. And now you have sanctions imposed on Russia, and you pointed out already that these sanctions are highly unlikely to work. So what's the end game? How does this end?
Well, I think the end game, as previous head of European diplomacy said, will be decided on the battlefield. And to be honest, the battlefield is the only leverage that Russia has in this conflict. Because if it stops the ceasefire and then it goes into talks, there'll be no more leverage for it to exert. So the stumbling block is the Donbass. Donbass is kind of politically impossible for Zelensky to agree to it. So the kind of best scenario would be for Russia just to take it over by military force, and then they can have the deal which Trump looks for. Whether Russia is able to do it is another thing. But Putin believes that they can. Zelensky thinks they can stop Russia's, and the things will be decided on the battlefield. When Russia realizes that it can't take it or just simply takes it over, at that point there'll be some opening for the negotiations. But until then, it will remain. We're going back in those circles of sanctions, threats, and possible summits. The momentum is on the Russian side, whatever the kind of Zelensky might say. So military momentum. So maybe we see another point. And with this final point, with this seizing of Russian assets and so forth, Europe is like a last dice of throw of dice for Europe because they don't have any more money to support the war. This is $140 billion euros they take from Russian frozen reserves is the last thing they really have. This is another kind of 1 year and a half, 2 years after that. The war will, Ukraine will have nothing to go on for. So in that sense, Putin thinks momentum is on his side. Time is on his side. Why bother, giving up on things which he thinks might get, will go his way anyway. So that's the basic calculation for him.
Alexander Titov, thanks very much for your insights. Thanks very much for joining us here on TRT World. Appreciate your time.